No wasted energy on the Tour today, we're going green. There'll be a spot the yellow jersey competition as the defending champion hides in the bunch, while the largest sprinter in the race tries to swap the smallest. It's Tour versus Robbie. And as well as what should be a blazing finish, Ned will be giving you a guided tour of the travelling circus at the stage start. Now, as you know, we have a policy of complete honesty on this show, so let me start by saying that if I were to hold up a photograph of Lance Armstrong in front of the camera, that'll probably be the last you see of him today until he puts on his yellow jersey at the end of the show. Lance will be in his sedan chair on stage 13, carried along by his 7 remaining teammates, just close enough to the front to stay out of trouble, but not so close as to get drawn into the end of stage madness. And by the end of it, the overall classification will look very much, if not exactly, like this: Armstrong, Rasmussen, Moreau, Basso, Valverde, Botero, with all the other big names lined up behind them in the same order. So what are you watching for? Well, while the contenders for overall victory are saving their legs today and plotting for the Pyrenees tomorrow, the sprinters, or at least those of them that have survived the Alps, will be back at the front with their elbows out.
Robbie McEwen is coming on the rails. Robbie McEwen is opening up the sprint. Tom Bowden is trying to get over the top of him. As they come up to the line, it's Bowden and McEwen, and Tom gets it. What a finish. Tom Bowden now in the centre, being challenged by McEwen. This is a desperate move again. A little bit of a wobble. Bowden has done it again. What a sprint that was. Everybody bouncing off everybody's shoulders.
They are not the best of friends, we have to say, and that was not a very nice move.
Bowden goes, McEwen chasing him down, and now the green jersey again has hit the front. O'Grady is out of it. Here comes McEwen, he's got the legs this time. Robbie McEwen is forced to the line and takes it. That's revenge for you.
Oh, look at that salute by Robbie McEwen.
Yes, we know, Robbie. It was pretty good, wasn't it? Look at McEwen on the inside. Magnus Backsted's got his wheel. Here comes Magnus Backstead to the line now. I think McEwen's held him off. McEwen on the line thinks he's got it, that for sure. The big surprise there. Absolutely no sign in the top 5 of Tom Bowden.
Now, the last time we saw the sprinters fighting it out at the finish rather than fighting for survival in the mountains, the leader on points was Tom Boonen. He had 2 stage wins, the same number as Robbie McEwen. Robbie lost a chunk of points when he was disqualified for headbutting Stuart O'Grady. Thor Hushovd hadn't won a stage, but he'd been in the top 5 consistently enough to be running second to the Belgian. It's not enough to be fast, though. You have to be tough enough to get through the mountains and still be fast in the final week. On the stage to Briançon 2 days ago, Boonen crashed, not for the first time, and yesterday he abandoned the race. So, ushered in off the wings to assume the role of Jolly Green Giant was Thor Hushovd, and he's confident of playing it all the way to Paris.
Yeah, I think so. I passed the Alps quite good. I had 2 days in a row in front, so I'm feeling quite strong. So I think I have legs to keep it.
Robbie's still a threat?
No, I'm not afraid.
If I was Tour's size, I don't think I'd be afraid of much either. Now, there's today's stage, Miramar to Montpellier, with 2 intermediate sprints out on the road where riders can score green jersey points. 6, 4 and 2 for the first 3 men under the banner. The big points, though, are at the finish line. On a flat stage like today's, the winner gets 35 points, which is exactly Thor Hushovd's lead over Robbie McEwen. Then there's 30 for second place, 26 for third, 24 for fourth, 22 for fifth, and 20 for 6th. Then it goes down in 1-point increments all the way to a single point for 25th place. Well, a 5-man breakaway swept up all the points at the first sprint of the day after 22 kilometres. In there was Thomas Voeckler, the rider we thought might get away yesterday for Bastille Day, along with 2 other Frenchmen, Carlos de Cruz and Ludovic Turpin. Also in there was Juan Antonio Fletcher of Spain and the USA's Chris Horner. Behind them, Robbie McEwen has his De Witteman team chasing, though, so they're going to have their work cut out to stay away. As we pick it up at the 93-kilometre mark, their lead is just over 6 minutes.
So on the front, Carlos de Cruz, followed there by Ludovic Turpin. And just looking up at the trees there, it's nice to see that there's hardly a cloud in the sky. The temperature certainly has rocketed up. It was 25 degrees Celsius when we came out of the hotel this morning, and right now it's probably tipped above around about 32. Just looking there, this looks to me like the town of Uzes, and Uzes is a town that was actually originally formed back in 1096. Just looking down at the famous cathedral there. That cathedral, in fact, was originally built in 1090, although it was destroyed a little bit later in the Albicinian War. I wonder if this is another problem here for Alejandro Valverde. We've all heard about his knee problem, which happened when he had that little bit of an accident on the team time trial on stage 4. He's dropping at the back here at the feeding station, and I wonder if he's going to stop here. I certainly hope not. I hope it's not. Well, the race radio is saying they're announcing the abandon of Alejandro Valverde, but he's still actually riding in the race. Now, that's a bit of a surprise. I wonder if he is going to pull off.
Valverde just moving on, Paul. I'm just wondering, is he feeling a bit
Race
rough?
Radio has just announced the abandon of Alejandro Valverde. He's still riding along here. I think he's probably actually looking for the team car. We knew that he had this tendinitis with his knee. He's lying in 5th place overall. This will be a bitter blow. I think that indication from the hand is he's looking for the team car.
Well, you know, every day we are surprised in the Tour de France, and this is the last person that we would have thought would be looking for the end of the road at the feeding station. Almost by tradition, if a rider's rough, that's where he gets off when he reaches the feeding stop, because he knows the cars are there to take him away. And it looks as though we saw him in trouble in the mountains on the last day. And that is a big shout. The crowd don't think he's packed in. They're cheering him on. I wonder if they realise who he is.
I think they probably do realise who this man is, because he's been made fairly famous over the last couple of days by the fact that he's the leader of the white jersey competition for the best young rider, a rider who is under 26 at the start of the season, or the start of the year from the 1st of January. If you're under 26 years of age, you can compete in this classification. And obviously for Valverde, that knee problem is much too much, and I think basically he's looking for the team car, and unfortunately for him, his team car is right at the very end of the feeding section.
Well, he's obviously decided enough is enough. It's his first Tour de France. A great shame. I remember when Alex Zülle came in as a future star of the Tour de France, everybody saying this man will win the Tour one day. They pulled him out, even when he was leading the race in his very first Tour. But this man, he's going out because of a tendinitis, and it's not good for the future, this.
It's very sad, but actually it's probably the most sensible decision. This man, if he was to ride on and continue with that knee problem, could find himself doing more serious damage. And let's not forget where the World Championships is this year. The World Championships is just outside of Madrid. Now, if this man can get his knee put back into good state and ride, for example, the Tour of Spain, he could be a great favourite to be the next Spanish world champion.
Well, as the race comes into Uzes, which is where the feeding station is, talking to people with knee problems, we know that Tom Boonen abandoned the green jersey. Speaking with Belgian television this morning, we spoke with Tom. He's been to a special doctor in Belgium. They've said that there's actually nothing wrong that won't happen to be put right in the next 3 days. So they've told him to stay off his bike for 3 days, and Boonen will be allowed to start training again. And he said he will start in the Tour of Spain as preparation for the World Championships in Madrid. But it does seem he's okay.
Well, that is sad, but you know, Phil, when you're riding an event, this is the abandon, that's the stop. What a shame.
Well, it's very sad when you see a man who's part of the action all the time decide to call it quits. And he has gone. Alejandro Valverde, 5th place overall. Everybody move up one. And that's a big challenger for Lance Armstrong. Remember, he beat Lance Armstrong to the top of Courchevel. And the effort he made to do that may have caused his problem, certainly aggravated it.
Well, I think the problem initially started when in the team time trial he actually banged his knee on the handlebars. It was a mundane incident, but it seemed to get worse as he went through the mountains, and it flared up on the big mountain stages. Yes, I'm sure that Courchevel actually really did affect it quite a bit, but it's a sad day for this man, because I could see him actually finishing the Tour de France on the podium.
I think we all did at one stage. He was likely to ride there at least as the white jersey winner, but now the white jersey, by my quick calculation, will pass back to Jaroslav Popovic, who's now in 14th place, which means it goes back to Discovery. But there's a little tear, I think, trickled out there, and that's a big loss, of course, for the team. Yes, it's awfully hard to swallow. No athlete, whether you're last or first, wants to leave the Tour de France.
Well, it's this race. It's a very special event. There are other events that you might ride around the world. You think, oh, I don't want to go on, and you just pull out. But the Tour de France, there is something special about it. It's monumental. Nobody wants to pull out of the Tour de France. At all costs, you want to get to the finish. Just looking at Valverde there, a tear in his eye, as you said, Phil, it reminds me of Jens Voigt. Jens Voigt rode through the big mountain stage with a fever at the start of the day, but he didn't want to abandon. He just wanted to be eliminated from the race, and I can understand, because I've been in a similar situation myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody leaves by the back door unless they have to.
Hi, I'm Chris Horner, and you can see more after this break. Welcome back to our coverage of stage 13 of the Tour de France. Now, we'll be rejoining the racing very shortly, but there's just time to give you a guided tour of a start village. A lot of people have been contacting us on the show saying we know what happens at the finish, but what goes on at the start? Well, here I am in Miramas to give you a guided tour of the curious, the laid-back, the tacky, and the downright bizarre, all to the accompaniment of insipid French music and very strong black coffee. Actually, it's a mobile trade fair, a chance for the sponsors to interface, I believe the word is, with their client group, and for a select number of the locally well-connected to have a feed and to rub shoulders with men like Richard Virenque and the great Raymond Poulidor.
Ah ben le village départ du Tour de France, oui. On peut s'alimenter, on peut boire à volonté, oui bien sûr. Mais il faut être prudent puisque le Tour de France est long. Et en plus, il y a une très forte chaleur aujourd'hui à Miramas. Je crois que ça va être l'étape la plus chaude et peut-être la plus rapide du Tour. Hein.
In the official kit, you have 5 official products. You have the official t-shirt with the fabulous cap. Not forgotten the fabulous teddy bear for you.
Outside in the cheap seats, well, free seats actually, they stand for hours to watch the riders sign in for the day's race, then trundle off into the sunshine. So, Scottish flag, you're obviously here to support all the Scottish riders on the Tour de France.
Yeah. No, we're just here to support the Tour. It's just a great event to be at, you know.
Do you always go to the start every day?
No, yesterday we were in the middle of the mountain stage. We just tried to get a good view of anyone at the stages, you know.
Yeah. And you guys, you get to stand here, but you don't get to go to the posh bit unless you've got the special pass, do you?
I think they would let us in there anyway.
Added security, you know. Yeah. Factor 20?
Yeah, 60.
Good man. Official Tour de France wristbands sold without any charity in mind whatsoever, solely for profit, just €2 each. Away from the cynical for a moment and back to the cycling, it represents a chance for the wider Tour de France family to mix and, of course, munch. There's loads of dangerous things like big fatty cheeses, there's a little bit of wine knocking around.
I grabbed a little bit of fruit.
Oh, did you? Yeah. Oh, well, that's a modest start. I'm sure you can do better than that.
Yeah, I'm sure I can.
Levi Leipheimer's mum and dad used the start village as a chance to catch up with their son.
Well, we haven't seen Levi yet, but we're looking for his bus and want to wish him good luck before the start, of course. And we just got here, so it's kind of a little bit overwhelming on the starts. Everybody talked about him, so I'm glad we're here today. Now, you designed these special T-shirts, didn't you? This is the brother, yeah?
I'm the
brother.
Rob, the older brother, yes. And Levi is definitely on target. We're very proud of him, and he's put, a lot of hard work in his whole life towards the Tour de France, so he's living the dream.
There's even a complimentary barber. After all, hair grows and the Tour is long. This man's done them all, except, of course, the no.
Okay, you know who broke this wonderful haircut that Laurent Brochard have on his head now? You know who broke it in France?
No?
Chris Waddle. Okay? So it's from your country. Okay?
Suitably coiffured, it's time to race to the finish line, stealing a march on the likes of race director Jean-Marie Leblanc and motorbike man with the blackboard Michel Bationo, who's never short of a bon mot for his widening TV public.
C'est quel pays? Hollande, oui, je sais pas c'est quel pays.
London. I like London, Londres.
Oh,
yeah, I like London.
Mais c'est pas vrai, I like London.
Yeah.
Impeccable.
Well, Michel, his blackboard and the rest of the five-man breakaway are rolling through the intense Mediterranean heat towards Montpellier. Just 37 kilometres to go now, but Robbie McEwen's Lotto team have shaved the gap to just 1 minute 16 seconds.
Good to see Axel Merckx up there supporting the troops. Good to see Cadel Evans up there. You won't see anything at all of Robbie McEwen until the final few hundred metres of the race, because he will try and sit in the pack, make sure he doesn't use too much energy, and wait to try and explode out in the final few metres. Great organisation. These guys are really digging deep this afternoon. They're looking to try and nullify the breakaway of 5 riders that escaped after just 17 kilometres of the stage.
Well, Van Summeren, he's a rider who surprised us this year, and one or two riders have come through this year from Belgium who have really offered a great future for the country. They've been rather crushed since Eddy Merckx retired. They've had good classic riders like Museo, but now they are getting some good riders. This is Van Summeren's first Tour de France. It's been a great domestique for the De Vitamin Lotto team. Christophe Brandt is a good climber, and they've got other guys who haven't ridden the Tour this year, but who will come through, I think, next year. And of course Lance won't be here. There'll be a lot of riders think they can win the Tour.
A lot of riders. Maybe the man in the pink jersey there, T-Mobile, Jan Ullrich, might finally think he can get his Tour de France victory. But even so, Phil, I don't think Ullrich has yet given up. The important thing for Jan Ullrich, I think, is to try and close the 4-minute gap he has on Armstrong, and he might produce something special when we get into the Pyrenees, because he is the kind of rider who really does enjoy the hot conditions that are starting to come down here in France.
Let's also remember Damiano Cunego didn't make it this year. A little bit of mononucleosis I think he developed, which means really he's not going to make a big effort for about 12 months to get out of that. Le Pic Saint-Loup, and what a lovely piece of scenery that is. France does seem to have it, everything, doesn't it? As we now race way down in the valley, there's no big climbs for the riders today. We're on the flat road to Montpellier, but we are going to see some stunning mountains from tomorrow when we're heading high up into the Pyrenees for the next 3 days of the Tour, with a rest day in between.
That is the Massif of the Cevennes just in the background, that little rock you can see sticking up there, a magical part of France. We're only about 30 kilometers away from the Mediterranean, just slightly inland, as they still have the neutral service car behind them. As we look back, it's not too far back to see the front end of the main field. There they are. The gap between them is not very much more now than 500 meters. So it's not very much. It's actually hovering now at the 54-second mark, and the reason for that is because I'm absolutely certain that the main field know they can nullify this gap whenever they want to, and that's why we've seen them just turn off the pacemaking a fraction at the front end of the main field. They've still got the referee's car in behind them. They've still got the neutral service car. That yellow one there is a car that will give a wheel to any one of these riders who has a flat tire on the run in towards the finish. Sponsored by a French company called Mavic, and they have been sponsoring the neutral service vehicle for about 30 years. In fact, it was the same company sponsoring and supporting the neutral service department even when I was racing. So they are looking nice and comfortable, just a little bit more relaxed, I think, than they were about 20 kilometers ago.
The split of the peloton, 51 seconds. They're getting closer, but they are inching now rather than running at them through this nice gorge here as we get onto the outskirts of Montpellier. Still a way to go, just over 26 kilometers to the finish, so just over a kilometer to the banner. That will incite a riot in the peloton perhaps. Armstrong off to the left in yellow, the polka dot leader of Rasmussen at 38 seconds, which is an incredible location to Armstrong after all of this racing from a man in only his second Tour de France.
Well, you know, this has been a great day, I think, Phil, for Team Discovery Channel. They've had almost a day off because the other teams have come forward and done the majority of the pacemaking. That's probably going to be important for them with the loss of Manuel Beltran yesterday because of that crash. For the first time since 2001, Team Discovery Channel losing a man before we get up to Paris.
Now then, that's very unusual for Team Discovery. They've only done it back in 2003. They like to bring all their men home for the celebrations and ride the Champs-Élysées together, but not the case this year. Beltran, I'm sure, will be brought in because he played such a valuable part in the team. 45 seconds, 25 kilometers to go. Now the charge is on.
Bonjour, c'est Ludovic Turpin. Je vous retrouve sur le Tour de France après la publicité.
19 kilometres to go to the finish for today's five-man breakaway, but their lead is down around 40 seconds. Before we rejoin the race on the run-in, Phil and Paul have got a couple of your emails.
Right, well, let's hope the voice holds up for another day because it's very hot here today. But the first email we have is from Ellie Lambert of Northumberland. How old do you have to be to qualify for the Young Rider competition, which is the white jersey competition, Ellie? The rules say you have to be born after the 1st of January 1980, which means basically you are under 26 years of age. Chloe Deverell from London, do the tour organisers still use the broom wagon? We'll ask Paul, he's been in it.
I have been in it, and it's not a very nice experience, and it is still here, it is still at the back of the race, but nowadays the riders don't actually seem to climb off into the broom wagon. Normally they get into a team car, I think probably because the abandons are very much warned in advance.
All right, so on to Emma Whitworth from Hartlepool. On the maps you show, what does the knife and fork icon stand for? It means food, but of course you don't stop on the Tour de France, you grab your bag and you keep on going. Anne Carpenter, at what point in the race does a domestique stop fetching and carrying for the leader? That's interesting.
Well, it is. Actually, the rule is you can take bottles on board after 50 kilometres have been covered, up until 20 kilometres to go. But the race referees on a very hot day have the chance to actually change that. And sometimes, if the temperature goes up to 35 or almost 40 degrees Celsius on some of these hot stages, they can actually take water on board up till about 10 kilometres to go.
Today might be an example of that. Elizabeth Eyre from Northants. Any chance of a musical interlude to show some of the beautiful scenery and the interesting places on the tour route? Of course. Here we go.
Well, we're right now inside of 20 kilometres to go, and that leading group of 5 riders, and this is the danger of riding at the front end of the group when there are so many spectators around. That leading group of 5 riders is still surviving, but really not by very much. Here they are, Fletcher. There you can see Chris Horner over to the left-hand side, Thomas Voeckler, the 2 men on the back, Carlos de Cruz and, of course, Ludovic Turpin. They are holding on now to a mere 25 seconds over the main field. But I'm sure the writing is very much on the wall here for these men, and shortly they will be back in the fold. And now the leading group of 5 go inside the banner of 15 kilometres to go, 9.5 miles. And on a run into the finish like this, that's those 15 kilometres should be covered in around about 17.5 minutes. So it's almost over. 15 kilometres for the bunch as well. What's happened, you see, Team Lotto de Witteman have used all of their energy, Phil, to pull back this breakaway. Yep. And what they won't have very much firepower left to control the front end of the main field. What Armstrong doesn't want to happen is a dangerous move. This is Sylvain Chavanel jumping off the front of the group.
And he's Cofidis.
He's a Cofidis rider. He's trying to get himself victory here. He was hoping that he'd get into the breakaway yesterday. A very clever move here, but when you can see that the front end of the main field is controlled by Team Discovery Channel, he's going to have a hard time at pulling it all back together. He's still got to ride across the gap to get to the 5 leaders.
Right, well, it does swing around a little bit. We do have a lovely wide boulevard eventually with a very, very nasty sweeping left-hand bend at 450 metres to go to the line. Now, I don't know the situation, Paul, but I'm hazarding a guess. There's no love lost, as far as we know, between Robin McEwen and Lance Armstrong, and I'm wondering if he's trying to set something up here that Cofidis might profit from.
Well, I'm not sure whether that's a situation. I'm pretty much certain the real reason Armstrong wants to set the pace at the front is to make the main peloton safe. If you go to the front in a situation like this and you keep the pressure on at the front end of the race, then you string the peloton out into a long line, and you don't get riders who have had a fairly easy ride on today's stage coming up to the front and taking risks, and you'll discourage riders, for example, like Samy Dumoulin, to come up to the front and take crazy risks, possibly provoking a crash.
That would certainly make Lance unhappy, I agree. But having said that, what a chance now of a double for Cofidis in France, because this is a good ride. Sylvain Chavanel was an outside hope for a top 5 or 6 finish as far as the French were concerned, but has lost over an hour, so he's well lost his chance now. He was never on the great form. He's running very close of our rear end there on the motorbike. We managed to get away, but that was dangerous. Chavanel is making a serious run at the finish here.
Well, it was slightly dangerous, but I'll tell you one thing, as an ex-bike rider, the bike rider there, Phil, will have actually used that motorbike on purpose. He would have come in very quickly into that corner and tried to actually get a slight pull from the motorbike. The responsibility in the race is for the television cameras to get out of the way of the rider. It's not the rider's fault.
And Paul Sherwin said that with feeling, I'm sure. Anyway, this is the situation now, reaching that. What a great crossing of the gap by one man. Sylvain Chavanel, Carlos de Cruz saying, what's going on? There's one guy here, no peloton. But chase him down, and Carlos de Cruz has started with a big kick.
He's kicked there to get onto the wheel there of Sylvain Chavanel, and they might hope that this could be the little bit of firepower that will help them to survive, get down to the finish line. The gap, though, between this 6-man leading group is actually going up. It was down to 5 seconds, but all of a sudden, with the arrival of Chavanel, it's gone up to 16.
Well, there's still a chance. Well, he's taken a few deep breaths and recovered, and now he's going to try and rip off the front, and you see he's got fresher legs. He has gone, and they're going to work at it, though. Juan Antonio Fletcher is counting the move. He needs help. He hasn't got the power. Looks over his shoulder. Carlos de Cruz can't go anymore. This is the move. He's going
Chavanel has now got the gap, finally, but there, coming round the back there, is Chris Horner. Horner, in fact, has seen the move, and he wants the chance of victory here, just as he did in the Tour of Switzerland, just 2 weeks before the start of the Tour de France. He said, I've been away all day. I'm not letting the victory go like this.
Well, 11 kilometres to go, and I'll tell you what, this is amazing. The peloton cannot get on terms. We are at the limit today. It's been a very, very quick stage. Now it's Domina Vacanzi launching a man out front. They lost their sprinter yesterday, Furlan.
Furlan abandoned like many riders in the Tour. We are looking at some very tired bike riders. Great move here by Chris Horner. The American on Saunier Duval has come across the gap. Don't forget, Phil, Horner has been away since the 17th kilometre, and he's found something special there to get onto the wheel of Chavanel. Now, Chavanel is the fresher rider, but Horner, that was a great move.
Salut, c'est Sylvain Chavanel. Je vous donne rendez-vous pour le Tour de France après la pub.
Well, in the 2005 Tour de France, we've only seen one of these warning triangles, and that was on stage 6 into Nancy. This is what happened.
There's the kilometre kite. There are now 3 riders. What a dramatic finish this is. Oh, and he's gone. He's overshot. Vinokurov skids and misses him. There's another crash, a massive pile-up on that bend.
Well, purely coincidentally, this is stage 13 of the Tour de France, and the riders would have negotiated no less than 8 of those hazard points before they get here in the final few hundred metres. Well, this kind of weather, I don't think we're going to see the mayhem we saw back in Nancy. Rather, I think we're going to see opportunities for a rider to take advantage of the tired legs of the peloton and slip away in the closing few kilometres. One of those riders might be Stuart O'Grady. He's trying to contest the green jersey competition, but he's really up against it. He needs to make a move and get away and get some space between him and the other contenders, get some valuable points. Thor Hushovd, currently the leader in that competition, he's got 2 things he needs to do. He needs to stay with Robbie McEwen, make sure that he doesn't let him gain more than just a couple of points, and also obviously contest that stage finish. Robbie McEwen, well, he is the fastest finisher in this race now that Tom Boonen has retired. He's going to want to take advantage and gain the maximum amount of points that he can. And if he can do that, he may be able to catch Hushovd up. Incidentally, it's worth pointing out that if Robbie McEwen can score a stage win and Thor Hushovd doesn't figure in the points, that would put him into the green jersey. Well, with those 8 hazard points coming into this finish, I think Montpellier could well be a finish to remember.
Now they've got themselves here. This is actually turning the race around to be a rather interesting situation.
There's a chance.
Discovery Channel have got no reason at all to pull back this group. As Sylvain Chavanel, this is a very difficult part.
And neither Cofidis nor Crédit Agricole, because they're taking away the big green jersey points here.
Oh, this is a difficult part. You remember driving into the finish this morning. This is a slight incline up over the railway lines. That really hurt Chris Horner. He had to dig deep to stay in contact there with Sylvain Chavanel.
The only trouble now is we go into a long 4-carriageway boulevard here, the Avenue de l'Europe, as we race down towards the finish. Then it gets rather narrow when we go on the off-ramp, very narrow in fact, to race underneath to the finish. And so that is where the catch will come, if it comes. But they've got a gap, and this is looking very, very good. If this succeeds, Paul, it's a move that so rarely doesn't, because they've ridden off the nose of the peloton.
Well, this is a very rare move here in the sport of professional cycling. Very rarely in the last 10 kilometres, when the hammer is completely down, do you see a breakaway survive. These are the remnants of that 5-man group, and they're still away. They're around about 10 seconds behind the group of Chavanel and Chris Horner. But Chris Horner, I think, has done an excellent job to work with Sylvain Chavanel, and they've got a very good chance.
Lance Armstrong probably making a team ride in the front with European champion happy to keep him at the front and away from any likely touch of wheels in the peloton, which will bring a crash about. He doesn't want to be involved in that, and that's his thought by staying at the front.
15 seconds is the advantage these two riders have over the front end of the main peloton. I don't believe that Discovery Channel are actually chasing these two riders. They're just setting a tempo. But where are the teams of the other sprinters? Why is there no organisation from Liquigas? If they want to get the win for their man there, the big Magnus Backstedt over on the left-hand side, they're going to have to really nail it down. And it's not a question of waiting for a kilometre or so. They've got to do it now.
It's almost as if they're queuing up. I don't know what they're waiting for, because there is no organisation. This is why this part of the Tour de France at this stage of the race, 13 days in, is so exciting, because the teams are thinned out with abandoned riders, and it makes the thing a little less predictable. Here we go, 14 seconds the gap now, looking for the 3 kilometres to go. Ben, I haven't seen it. Was it just there?
3 kilometres to go for the two leaders.
There it is.
And they're still holding on to just 15 seconds lead. They dare not look back. Well, Sylvain Chavanel has taken a glance back there, and he's probably thinking it might just work. It might just work. If there's a moment of delay in the front end of the main field, these guys may survive, and it could be, Phil, that it's all in the final kilometre. That's still a very nice gap, 15 seconds.
It's not getting larger, but it's not getting smaller. There's a little rise here, and Chavanel, that's how he got away, is kicked again. Horner likes rises too. He's on his wheel. That's the off-ramp they've come down there, I think. And Chris Horner is also a pretty good sprint finisher. It could be a win here for the USA, and what a tour they are having, with so many riders up on the overall as well.
Everybody's moving up. I just caught a glimpse there of Matty White, and on his wheel you can be absolutely certain you will see the shadow of Stuart O'Grady. It's come down a couple of seconds, down to just 12 seconds advantage for the two leaders. But if they get to that final kilometre, Phil, with a 15-second advantage, they should just have enough to hold on. But it's going to be very, very close.
We're looking now for the 2nd kilometre from the finish, and it can't be very far away from these riders now, as we're just on 10 seconds of gap. They're swinging away now. 2 kilometres, 10 seconds. I think we've gone under it for the two leaders as they're racing now through the crowd line here, and this could be the escape of the race. And what an escape by Horner.
They could have cheated the sprinters. The sprinters are there, but they're now in the very same finishing straight. You can see the blackness at the back there. That is the peloton. The front of it, I think, now is covered in pink jerseys. That is the team of T-Mobile, the team of Jan Ullrich. I wonder if Big Jan wants to have a crack at trying to get himself a stage victory in the sprint. Well, he should do. It's 8 seconds, and they're not far away from the kilometre banner.
Just on 9 seconds, 8 seconds, and they're looking for the banner which says 1 kilometre. They are under it. This could be the escape of the race, as Chavanel read the movement, reached Horner, was the only one to go with the breakaway. He will have been in the lead for 150 odd kilometres if he can get this. And what a way to finish his first Tour de France. First or second, I reckon he can win in the sprint.
I think he could win in the sprint, but they dare not play any tactical manoeuvring right now. They've got to keep the pressure on. It's just down to 5 seconds. Looking over his shoulder, Sylvain Chavanel is playing the tactical game. Horner is in a good position. He's going to wait until the last possible moment. He must be tired, Phil. He's been away for such a long day, about 160 kilometres.
They see the finish. Oh, they're off that bend. They can see the finish. Here comes Magnus Backstedt being led up by leaking gas. Boy, this is a huge gamble by Chris Horner, not helping, I'll tell you. If he waits any longer, it'll be all over. There is the left-hander now, and McEwen is on second wheel around it. They started the sprint. Horner goes the line, but they're on his back wheel. Here comes the lead out of the century from Fred Rodriguez. As now over the top goes Robbie McEwen, looking at the men. As he hits the line, he gets it. And it's no good complaining Stuart O'Grady, because I don't think he'd have won. But he was second anyway. What a shame for the two.
I think O'Grady was in second place, but more importantly, Freddie Rodriguez kept the sprint going to put time and distance between Thor Hushovd and Robbie McEwen. Robbie McEwen is going to move a lot closer in the overall standings of the green jersey points classification here this afternoon. Look at Fast Freddie just disappearing over on the right-hand side. But the master of the sprint here this afternoon, Phil, has got to be Robbie McEwen. What a great win. O'Grady second, I think.
Yep, second, and gesticulating at Robbie McEwen's whip move across his line in the last few metres. To be honest, it looked like a momentary loss of balance rather than anything more sinister. And once he'd calmed down, Stuart seemed to at least half agree.
The adrenaline's pumping. You know, Robbie had obviously beaten me fair and square, but you know, just threw in a little how's it going at the finish.
Listen, I love the smile, but it comes down to it, very high speeds can be dangerous. So you're really saying that you don't have a problem with the way the sprint went today?
No, I mean, I was beaten, I was going to get beaten anyway. So, the adrenaline's pumping, the heart's 180 k an hour and we're doing 74 k an hour, it's pretty high adrenaline stuff.
And as we've seen, anything short of a headbutt seems to be permitted under Aussie rules. So there's the result, and it's a good one for McEwen, not just because he won, but because his lead-out man Freddie Rodriguez took third, bumping Thor Hushovd down a place to fifth. Behind them, Sylvain Chavanel and Chris Horner, first and second with 150 metres to go, finished 6th and 10th. Armstrong and the rest all got through the tricky run into the finish safely. Well, he made them work for nothing yesterday when the brakes stayed away, but McEwen justified the phenomenal effort of his teammates today, and just as well because they were destroyed by it, especially the two vans who were in the van for most of the day. Wim van Sevenant and Johan van Summeren cracked with about 15 kilometres to go and rolled in more than 11 minutes behind their team leader. Stage win number 3 for Robbie then. He's still insisting he'd rather win stages than the green jersey, and probably will, right up to the point he overtakes Thor Hushovd by doing it. After he stepped off the podium, he spoke to Ned.
Pretty emotional stuff, I guess, the way your team have worked for you over the last couple of days.
Very emotional. I mean, my guys had a tough day yesterday with our decision, our tactic yesterday, and I wanted to sort of stay a bit within reach of the green jersey. I mean, I lost a couple of points yesterday, but the plan was to put that breakaway under pressure yesterday, and it was a really hard day for the guys. And then today I said to them, look, I do feel good. I said, but it's totally up to you guys. If it's too much, I know we've been riding for 2 weeks on the front. We've just come out of the mountains. We've got 2 tough days coming up. I said, if you can't close it, sit up, take it easy. You decide. And my guys decided they were taking that back. And I decided I was winning the stage for them. Everybody's done so much work, and I've said before, and I'll say it again, it's not a McEwen victory, it's a De Wiedemann Lotto victory. It's this for my team.
Just finally, did Stewie have words with you at the end?
No, what was his problem?
Seemed to be a hand gesture in your direction.
Can't beat me.
Somehow I don't think we've seen the final episode of the Robbie Stewie soap opera, but it doesn't change anything at the very top of the overall standings. Lance Armstrong will carry the yellow jersey into the Pyrenees, having carried it safely through what on another day could have been a dangerous run-in.
We were on the front because in the book, the race book said that there was a very narrow section with 2 kilometers to go. So we were basically just racing for that section. As you saw, there was, had there been a full-blown group, full-blown field sprinter, if that had been if we'd have passed that section in the first week of the race, it would have been a disaster. So we were just simply trying to get through the 2K mark, and then then sit up and let them sprint.
So Armstrong leads the Tour back into the mountains, and he'll have one rival fewer to worry about when he gets there. Alejandro Valverde, 5th overall, and the man who deprived Armstrong, remember, of a stage win at Courchevel, has dropped off the leaderboard and out of the race. It was sad to see, but as he told us tonight, it was an injury that had been troubling him for the past 10 days.
Me di un pequeño golpe ahí con las manías de la bici de contrarreloj y a raíz de ahí pues una pequeña molestia, pero tampoco no era nada, pensamos que no era nada. Y bueno, después del esfuerzo de Courchevel pues salió, la verdad que salió.
So, for the second consecutive day, we see a jersey changing shoulders because of injury. Burnham bowed out in green yesterday. Today, with Valverde gone, Jaroslav Popovic takes over as the best young rider in the Tour. Now then, before we go, we've got the competition and a challenge for Paul Sherwin. Now, Paul, take a deep breath before you react, because it's for a good cause. We've had an email from a John Peters, who has wagered £100 for charity that you will not get through the weekend without saying either unbelievable or unbelievably. Do you accept?
I'd have to accept, but do I get to choose the day?
You can, go on.
I'll go for Saturday stage because it's slightly shorter and it is live. Sunday, there's no way I can get through the stage without saying unbelievable, because it's going to be.
All right, and that's the last time we're going to hear it out of you. You've got quite remarkable, you've got a whole thesaurus of words to choose from.
What about my goodness me?
And well, I think that might be Phil Liggett's,
okay,
and we'll have to check the copyright on that. Now, we are live tomorrow, so there'll be no sneaky editing involved, and if we lose the bet, we're going to match the funds and send them to Jeff Thomas, who, as you know, is riding the entire Tour route this year to raise money for leukemia research. Now then, tomorrow, as you've heard, we are live as the race heads into the Pyrenees. 2:45 we're on for stage 14, and that should be plenty of time to give us a good look at the last 2 big climbs. If you missed that, we're back on at 7:15 with highlights, but try to catch it live. It should be a fabulous day's racing. and I think we'll see a bit more of Lance Armstrong than we did today. Good night.